Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I really need to tell you this story. Years ago, I had gone to see my doctor. He was actually my cardiologist, and he was also my mother's cardiologist, which worked out great because I inherited the disease from her. And so he had a pretty good understanding of it. Well, I'd had an episode, and so he said, I'm going to let you go home, but only if you promise to go to bed and stay down and rest for at least a week. Well, I told him I couldn't do that. I would rest as much as I could, but I had to fly out the next morning. I was going to a huge conference, and people were expecting me to be there. He said, well, what would happen if you died and you couldn't go? I said, you don't understand, Dr. Rahimi. It's a big conference, and people have planned the conference around me. It will be a big disappointment to the folks. They started planning this a year ago. I'm the last speaker. I'm going to tie a ribbon around the whole thing. I'm actually going to go and sit in on everything. He says, stop. Just stop. You do not understand what's going to happen, so I'm going to tell you. They will have a moment of silence for your passing, and the substitute speaker will speak. And I was like, okay, are you trying to say something's going to happen if I don't rest? He said, yeah, it absolutely will. Well, I went home and I went to bed and I rested that evening and I felt pretty good the next morning. And I'm embarrassed to admit that I caught the flight and I went on and I did what needed to be done. And I think I felt like I was fine until I wasn't. Grace is a wonderful gift. And as my mother said, God takes care of fools and babies. She said, it's been a long time since you've been a baby. When COVID hit me, it went through my body searching for the weak spots, and the MS and the asthma were being taken care of. And so it found that other weak spot, one that I had not thought about in quite some time. And it took me down. And while I was down, folks were contacting and calling and asking if I could come to this meeting or that meeting or do this thing or that thing and read this and do that and notice this and notice that. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm really sick right now. And I wasn't trying to say what was going on too much and too publicly because you get too much and too much. And so I just wanted to rest and recuperate. But the request kept coming. And I had several meetings that I knew I was supposed to be at, and I had to let folks know that I wouldn't be able to come. And so when I felt like I was good enough to be up, I said, well, if you send a link, I'll go to that meeting. And someone said, no, we really want you in person. I said, well, that's just not going to happen. It can't happen. And they said, well, we'll accept that. And I was like, you what? You what? And I could hear Dr. Rahimi saying, what will happen if the substitute person will step in? There'll be a moment of silence and they'll keep going. Even when I explained to folks that I needed to take a time, some would chastise me and say, you're not resting enough. And then the second breath, they'd say, here's some work for you to do. And I could hear Dr. Rahimi. There'll be a moment of silence, and the substitute person will step in your place. I lay there long enough to realize that life is truly precious. And if your life isn't precious to you, you can stop listening to this now, because it really won't make a difference. I made a list of the things that were in the way of truly recuperating, truly healing, truly doing what I'm here to do, and the things that I was truly here to do. They are my ministry, my purpose, my work, my family, those things that bring me joy. And in most cases, all of those things intersect on top of one another. And I'm beginning to see more clearly when those other things have nothing to do with who I am and why I'm here. If I'm honest, it is not the asking or prodding or begging of folks. It is my own ego that feels like because I see a connection, I am needed and I need to do the thing that I'm needed to do. But I'm not here for just what I'm needed for. I'm here for what I'm called to. It was a hard lesson. I'm still learning it. I'm still saying no to some folks whose presence I like. But if I'm really honest, at the end of the day, it drags me down a little bit more. There are some other folks I haven't seen in a while, and I put them on my list, and I reached out and said, we got to hang out again. Because those things that you give joy to should give joy back to you. Yeah, work is work, but find ways to be new with it, to be in awe, to be engaged in it, so that it is also a part of those things that you not only want to do, but they pour joy back into you. When we are engaged at work and in alignment with the purpose of the work that we do, it is so much easier to find the strength to not only keep going, but to use it to strengthen other areas of your life. I love you, and I want to be here with you for a long time, and I want you here with me. I love you.